In the news tonight, Barbados Labour Party members challenged to be at the forefront of changing the crime situation. The Anglican Bishop calls for a gun amnesty among other anti-crime measures. And in sports, Andrew Thornhill wins gold for Barbados at the World Masters Athletic Championships.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. And our top story tonight, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley is challenging the Barbados Labour Party to collaborate more with all stakeholders to address the rising crime situation in the country. She made the comments as she addressed the Barbados Labour Party's 87th anniversary church service at the Church of God, the Garden St. James. Rachel Agard attended and files this report.
Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley believes the mission at hand now is to arrest the surge in violence that continues to plague this island. With that in mind, she has called on BLP members to work with not just those within the party, but all Barbadians and organizations to bring about change. She is also convinced that getting more youngsters back into church is part of the solution.
The ultimate decision as to whether a child goes to Sunday school or not on a Sunday morning is whose? Is whose? Is whose? Is whose? And until we accept that as the primary responsibility, we're not going to see change in this country. So I ask us to go into our communities, proselytize, communicate, work with, and ensure that we can make a difference to this country. I say simply to you that guns do not walk and guns do not talk.
The Prime Minister stresses that the job requires an all-hands-on-deck approach.
But the government alone cannot deal with raising our young people and our young children. Our parents, our godparents, our aunts, our uncles, we have a responsibility to work in every community to make sure that our children receive the early groceries, as the old people would say once again. And what are those early groceries? It's not just the food that we put in their bodies. It is the spiritual food that is necessary for people to know the difference between right and wrong.
Meanwhile, Pastor Ricardo Roberts says that Barbados can be healed from the scourge of crime if people simply show love to each other. He says this is a period for the nation to return to God.
I mean, it is well and good to have increased police presence. It is all well and good to have punitive measures or tougher legislation. But these would not get to the heart of the problem, brothers and sisters, because the heart of the problem is the heart of man. And I don't think people understand, brothers and sisters, how effective love is in dealing with the issues that face our society.
Founders Day will be celebrated tomorrow to mark the formation of the Barbados Labour Party on March 31st, 1938. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Anglican Bishop of Barbados, the Right Reverend Michael Maxwell, has called for a gun amnesty as part of measures to tackle crime. His comment follows the recent shooting death of 13-year-old Shonatan Chase, who was killed while watching a netball game. In a statement on the recent gun-related incident, Bishop Maxwell condemned the killing. He believes that much of the crime and violence plaguing the nation stems from individuals on the fringes who struggle in the early stages of life being ignored. The Anglican Bishop offered several suggestions to address the issue of crime.
I would further suggest that a gun amnesty be even reintroduced at this time to encourage the handover of illegal firearms and ammunition, and that the programs in our prison emphasize rehabilitation and penance, focusing on reforming our offenders, and should they be released, that they be mentored and provided the opportunity to live a transformed and productive life, remembering always that our God is a God of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation.
Bishop Maxwell also believes the church and the nation can do better in helping some of the at-risk individuals, which in turn could see a reduction in crime.
We have not been constant in nurturing our children and youth and even adults in a faith that would guide them in paths of righteousness. I truly believe that persons are not predestined to be criminals. They are at times, more often than not, shaped by their environs, and thus all of us have a responsibility to provide a healthy and nurturing environment, especially for our young people, so that they may develop into wholesome and productive citizens of this nation.
Minister of Educational Transformation, Senator Chad Blackman, says government is pursuing educational transformation to ensure children reach their full potential regardless of the challenges they have. He was speaking at the We Care Montessori outreach viewing of the documentary Inside Montessori at the We Pals Montessori in Bartlett's Christchurch. The minister says government is trying to transform the educational structure so that every child is able to learn in his or her own way. He notes, for example, that while autism is a challenge, if the government can get the foundational basics right, that will help children to succeed in spite of the condition. Minister Blackman also says his ministry is interested in partnering with organizations like the Montessori to help with this transformation.
Once we can get the foundation right, as cliche as that has become, it means there's no child in our country, notwithstanding where they are on the grade, that they can achieve major things. And it is therefore, and I was speaking to the chief and we are in agreement, we want to partner with you to do a number of strategic things for our educational system, particularly at a time when the ministry has changed its name, and it's not by accident, and it's now called Educational Transformation. It's still, of course, the Ministry of Education as we knew, but the focus is now to ensure that the system which we've used for the last 60, 70 years now becomes fit for purpose.
Senator Blackman also said the transformation will be somewhat uncomfortable as there will be a deconstruction of the current model of education. He pointed out the current system depends a lot on exams, and while they are necessary, there are other ways to achieve the same goal with different ways of learning.
For a long time, our system has been very focused on exams and exam passing. And whilst that's necessary in many respects, it's not sufficient because, again, children learn differently. And that's why the government is now moving to having the system cater to project-based learning so that children can now explore and learn. So yes, at the end, you're going to receive certifications, but that's not the sum total of your experience in our educational system, because you must learn from your environment, you must be able to learn from experiences, you must be able to learn with your colleagues based on projects, and being able to put together different experiences to learn different outcomes.
Coming up on Newsnight, new research sheds more light on the wealth sugar generated for plantation owners in Barbados. Plantations in Barbados during slavery were generating so many millions from the sale of sugar that they bought major real estate in other countries. This is part of the findings of a project launched by the University of the West Indies History Department on the Constant and Carmichael plantations and their historical link to Shelter Island in New York. Deputy Principal of the Cave Hill campus, Professor Winston Moore, says the project is grounded in a remarkable episode of Atlantic history. He says back in 1651, the Sylvester family owned a plantation in the St. George Valley and used the proceeds from the sale of Muscovado sugar to buy Shelter Island. He says this was far more than just a real estate transaction.
When you really crunch the numbers, you can see the amount of money that was being generated by the plantations in Barbados. And I did crunch the numbers for this evening. If you take a look at just Sylvester Plantation alone, Sylvester Plantation, by the recent estimates that I've found, is currently worth $25 million. The island as a whole, if you also use current real estate numbers, you'll find that the island as a whole is actually worth over $100 million. So you have two plantations in Barbados purchasing real estate, essentially equivalent to over $100 million.
Minister of Housing and Lands Dwight Sutherland is also the Member of Parliament for St. George South, where the plantations are located. He says the project is inspirational and what is being created with the help of Shelter Island partners brings to bear a sense of identity and belonging.
Allow me at this point, though, to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Mellon Foundation for seeing the value of this project and providing their support, which through the transformation of the 1737 Manor House into a center for history and heritage will contribute to the creation of a dedicated space for engaging with this complex history. The foundation has furthermore provided its support for this 3-year initiative being launched today, and which will be dedicated to exploring the history and legacy of Constant and Carmichael plantations and their association with Shelter Island in New York. Simultaneously, the University of the West Indies will be seeking to enhance its interpretive program in a way that would enable this interesting aspect of our history, which I'm sure most Barbadians would not have been familiar with.
Now for a look at the sports news. Barbados won gold today at the World Masters Athletics Championships in the United States. Andrew Thornhill won the men's high jump in the 40-44 age group in a new personal best clearance. Competing today at the indoor meet in Alachua County in Florida, Thornhill's winning jump was 1.92 meters. His personal best before that was 1.87. Thornhill was head and shoulders above his competition as the silver medal went to Francois Kulnick of Ireland with a leap of 1.85, and third went to Napoleon Papp of Hungary with 1.80. Tomorrow is the final day of the World Masters Games. Barbados karate team has won a second medal at the Central Caribbean Cup Karate Championships, securing another bronze last evening at the Gimnasio Roberto Duran. That venue is in Panama. Team captain Sheridan Graves, delivering a nail-biting victory in the senior men's over 84 kilogram division, battled his way to an 8-6 triumph over the Curacao contender. Earlier in the competition, Delano Alsop captured the first bronze medal for Barbados in the under-21 75 kg category. In other results, Rican Brathwaite narrowly missed out on bronze in the senior women's under 68 kg kumite match. Joseph Siu got to the quarterfinals of the senior men's kata, while Shanna Skeet was eliminated in the first round of the senior women's kata. The Sandy Lane Barbados Gold Cup was a bust for Goddess Nike, but there was victory last evening in the featured Gordon Lewis Memorial Handicap, which went 1,800 meters. On the honouring Barbados former Turf Club employees race day at the Garrison Savannah, the 5-horse field was reduced to a one-on-one duel with Sir Jimmy, and the Goddess Nike, ridden by Rashid Hughes, was the clear winner in 1 minute 56 seconds.
And they're racing, and Sir Jimmy was smartest away as expected. And the Goddess Nike, Rashid Hughes, has decided he's going to keep Sir Jimmy honest as they complete the first furlong and come towards us now for the first time. And it is Sir Jimmy, Rashid Hughes on the outside on the Goddess Nike, trying to keep him honest. Meanwhile, Devonta Prescott is trying to slow down the pace of Sir Jimmy, who's very keen to get on with it as it passes the stands for the first time. They've got just over a circuit to run, and the opening quarter is down as 25-3. As they're around the infamous paddock bend, Sir Jimmy, red with white sleeves, that's the chestnut colt who leads. He's in front by about a length and a half from the Goddess Nike in the red with blue sleeves, who's being pushed along to keep touch with Sir Jimmy as they go down the back stretch, the half mile, 50-1. Sir Jimmy leads by 2.5 lengths. Devonta Prescott unmoved. Well behind him, Rashid Hughes is asking the Goddess Nike to get closer as they round the far turn and head up the hill and head back towards their departure point. Under the dying light, Sir Jimmy continues to lead, has not seen his rival since the off, but he'll soon get her some company as the Goddess Nike now gets closer. They've got just 2.5 furlongs to go, so Jimmy gets right-handed encouragement, but the Goddess Nike sweeps up and joins him, and these two now lock horns inside the quarter pole. And they locked horns for a very brief moment as the Goddess Nike just delpers up daylight now and starts to dash away. So Jimmy is game, and they have no more turns in the nightcap. And under a right-hand drive, it's the Goddess Nike who's now starting to draw off from Sir Jimmy. She has completely rejected his attentions and is going to win ease down in a final time of 1:55 and change.
A double women's cricket tournament is set for the Easter weekend from April 18th to 22nd at the Map Hill Ground. It's the 2025 edition of the West Indies Women's Softball International Cricket Festival, which will have 9 teams from the 5 participating countries in 2 zones. The 2 tournaments will be a one-day T6 competition followed by the Hamilton Lashley Challenge Shield. Hosts Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana and St. Vincent will field 2 teams each, while Antigua has 1. Organizer Rodney Simpson highlighted what's up for grabs.
There's 2 tournaments in one, the T6 and the 12-over tournament. The T6, you can play with 6 players. Every person have the ball over, but you can use 7. You can use a super sub. That person, if you can't bowl, that person will bowl for you and you adjust back. And that tournament will be played for $5,000 first prize, $25 second prize, $15 third prize, and $500 fourth prize, along with individual prizes and trophies. These matches is going to be played day and night. The T6 tournament, the T12 tournament is going to be played for $10,000 Barbados, $5,000 second prize, the first prize $10,000, third prize $2,500, and the fourth prize $1,500. Also with individual cash money and trophies.
The Barbados teams are being sponsored by Managing Director of Tree Trimming, Dave Lovell, who presented the shirts to Captain Kim Walren. Mr. Simpson believes softball cricket has helped to develop cricket in the entire Caribbean over the years, and now it is not being taken as seriously as it should.
I would like to see that we have a national women's softball tournament emerge. And this tournament, I propose that this particular women's tournament, national women's tournament, be played under the banner in memory of Grenada Squires. And the main tournament, I think that we have done a disservice to Joe O'Connell. I think that we need to have a main competition, the Joe O'Connell Memorial Competition. And you can play on Sundays where out of season when the hard worker is not playing. And you can play like in men play in the morning and the women play in the evening. And that had that kind of culture back. Mr. King would know them days. When the women play up in the evening, the men play up in the morning. That had that kind of culture. And our cricket was strong. And I think the only way we could get our cricket, the way how we want it, is using the softball and merge it into the hardball. It's like a primary from one to the next.
Well, that's our news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.